Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
How's the campaign going?
Oh, it's going great. I tell you what, we've got 33 days to go from today, and we're out there in every corner of the state. And I tell you what I'm hearing, people are absolutely furious at this disgrace in Washington, these confirmation hearings, the circus that they've become. What Claire McCaskill and her allies have done is unconscionable, and we're going to hold them accountable.
So you clearly don't believe Dr. Ford.
You know, here's what I think. I watched the testimony and read the portions that I didn't get to watch, and I thought that Dr. Ford was very sincere, and I thought that she was very compelling. I think about this as a prosecutor, McGraw, which is that it's really about the totality of the evidence. And I just haven't seen any corroborating evidence for the allegations that Dr. Ford has made, and the other allegations by the other individuals, frankly, seem totally incredible to me. I mean, there's nothing whatsoever to substantiate them. And I think given that and given Judge Kavanaugh's long record, that he deserves to be confirmed. But here's the bigger point. This entire process has been turned into a three-ring circus. The Democrats have disgraced Dr. Ford. They've disgraced Judge Kavanaugh. They've disgraced themselves, and they've done it deliberately because they wanted this process to be a circus. They should be held accountable for that, beginning with Claire McCaskill.
Do you think the whole process, the argument is, Josh Hawley, that I think the person, many people would agree with that, but there's no confidence that if the shoe were on the other foot and Senator Hillary Clinton would have won and she would have nominated a liberal justice, quote unquote, that conservatives wouldn't be doing something similar to sort of take down the other guy.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We've never seen that happen before. I mean, look at Justice Sotomayor, Justice Kagan, Justice Ginsburg. I mean, those hearings, and those were important court seats, but those hearings were civil. They were professional. This has been a total and complete sham, these hearings have been. And we know that this is what they wanted. It wasn't like this just accidentally happened. Senator Feinstein sat on that FBI letter for months. She should have referred it to the FBI when they could have done this confidentially, protected Dr. Ford's anonymity and her privacy, when they could have avoided dragging Judge Kavanaugh through the mud and gotten to the bottom of this. But they didn't do that because they didn't want it to be done in a professional manner. They wanted it to be a circus, and that's what they've given us.
There's a lot of people saying that this confirmation hearing is energizing the base. There's some new poll numbers out from Jim McLaughlin, who back in June had Senator McCaskill leading you by 4 points. Now, after these last round of poll numbers, after watching what happened in Washington, you're up by 8 points. Are you seeing your base energized by what's going on in Washington?
Yes, I mean, everywhere we go, incredible energy. When the president was in town, in the state, I should say, 10 days ago, we had 12,000 people jammed into an arena, something like 20,000 people outside. They couldn't get in. And we're seeing that kind of enthusiasm everywhere. But really, it's anger, McGraw. I mean, let's be honest. It's anger. People are furious that what they wanted in 2016, when they voted to put conservative, pro-Constitution judges on the bench, what we're seeing now is Claire McCaskill and the liberals just saying, you know, we're just going to ignore your votes. I mean, we're just going to ignore the results of the election. Elections don't matter. We're going to turn this into a circus and a sham and a debacle in order to prevent the people's will from being done. That is wrong, and people are furious about it.
I will ask you this question because I can hear the people screaming into the radio right now. Merrick Garland didn't even get a hearing when Obama nominated him to the bench. So any criticism for that?
Oh, go ahead.
Any criticism for that from the Republican Party for not even giving him a hearing?
Look, there's been an election since then, McGraw, and that was the whole point. And a lame duck of a presidential year with a presidential election looming, let the people say what they want. And the people of this state said what they wanted by 20 points. They said that they wanted pro-Constitution judges on the bench. We know it was a huge reason why people voted for Donald Trump. And now we have the Democrats saying, you know, let's just pretend like that election didn't happen. Claire McCaskill saying, I'm just going to ignore the fact that my state wanted pro-Constitution judges. I'm just going to say no. And this, of course, isn't the first time she said no. She voted no to Justice Gorsuch. She's been wrong 6 times on Supreme Court nominees. Every single time, she's badly out of touch with the state. She's ignoring the will of the voters, and we're going to send her home for it.
I want to talk about pre-existing conditions for a moment, because it seems like not only is this race turning on the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation, but also pre-existing conditions. There are all sorts of commercials. You're clearly on the record saying that the Affordable Care Act, a.k.a. Obamacare, is wrong. It should be redone. You have attached a lawsuit of the state saying that pre-existing conditions are wrong, but you have come out very much in favor of making sure insurance companies cannot discriminate against people who have pre-existing conditions. What is the best way, Josh Hawley, that insurance companies and people can know that insurance companies will not be able to discriminate on pre-existing conditions if you were king and you could do anything you wanted?
Well, you have to put it in the law. I mean, you have to put it in the law that insurance companies are required to cover folks with pre-existing conditions. You know, people like my own son, McGraw. I mean, I've got a little boy. We've got two little boys at home. But my older boy has a chronic disease, joint disease, bone disease that we found out about earlier this year. That's a journey for us. Many families in this state have stories just like that. So I think you have to require the insurance companies to cover folks with pre-existing conditions on the same terms as everybody else. And it's as simple as that. And then there are various ways that you can ensure that coverage gets maintained and that the price point gets maintained. I proposed one way is what I call a federal insurance guarantee, where the federal government covers costs above $10,000 that makes sure that the people who have pre-existing conditions pay the same premiums and have the same deductibles on the same terms as everybody else. But here's the point. We do not have to have Obamacare to do that. And Claire McCaskill is holding hostage the people of this state and people with pre-existing conditions to the failed legacy of Barack Obama. And we can't afford it. I mean, the people cannot afford the bills that they are being forced to pay. Healthcare costs up 145% in this state because of Obamacare. No Missouri family should be forced to pay that.
If you are successful, and if this lawsuit is successful and pre-existing conditions is thrown out, between the day it's thrown out and the time you come up with the new plan, aren't there going to be people who are falling through the cracks?
No, because look, I mean, I have no doubt that a court would phase in any ruling. I mean, it's not as if it's just going to be a snap of the fingers and suddenly everything is gone. Plus, plans that have been sold and are guaranteed for a certain amount of time, insurance companies can't just yank those away. I mean, the law independently prohibits that, and there are various HIPAA provisions that prohibit that, quite apart from Obamacare. But look, let's not let Congress weasel out of their responsibilities. I mean, this isn't about the courts. This is about Congress. Congress is going to have to fix this law. They haven't done it yet, and that's why families are paying 145% increases and more, but nobody thinks we can go on like we are now. And no Missouri family should be forced to go on like we are now. They just can't afford it. I mean, Obamacare is in a state of collapse. So Congress is going to have to act, and they should have done it already. If Senator McCaskill had been willing to do what she promised and cross the aisle and get bipartisan reform, we wouldn't be where we are today. But she wasn't willing to do that. I am, and that's why we'll get this done.
I want to go back to what you said, because that was something new I had heard you say about what's this plan where everybody would buy insurance and it would be no more than $10,000 a year?
Well, no, there are various ways, McGraw, to cover folks with pre-existing conditions. One way that I just proposed in an editorial yesterday is you require insurance companies to offer coverage to folks with pre-existing conditions on the same terms as everybody else. And then what happens is there's a federal insurance guarantee, I've called it, and some states have tried this and had some success with it, which is that for costs for the insurance companies that run more than, say, $10,000, the federal government pays those. And that allows the companies to offer the plans on the same prices with the same deductibles to folks with pre-existing conditions as everybody else. So, you know, they don't have to buy it in a separate pool. They don't get taken out of the market. And folks with pre-existing conditions are treated the same as everybody else. They get the same prices, the same guarantees, and regardless of how you do it, and there are other proposals about how you make that happen, you have to require it in the law, and that's the bottom line. But here's the other thing. I am against this corporate welfare for the big insurance companies that is Obamacare. Big Pharma and big insurance wrote Obamacare. They love it, but it doesn't work for anybody except them, and that's why it's time to end it.
It sounds to me, though, that what you're proposing is similar to the Affordable Care Act, except that the subsidies on the Affordable Care Act are a sliding scale depending on how much money you make, where it sounds like you're saying everyone gets the same subsidy across the board.
No, what the Affordable Care Act does is require everybody to buy stuff that they don't want. I mean, the core of the Affordable Care Act is the individual mandate, which says that we're going to go out and force you to buy a health care plan. We don't care if you want it or not. We're not going to give you any choice either, by the way. You just got to go out there and buy what we deem is available. The federal government works with the insurance companies to say, here's what the plans are going to contain. You don't get any choice. And that's why, McGraw, in 96 out of 114 counties in Missouri, 96, there's only one insurance option on the health care exchanges under Obamacare. One. The family, they don't have any choice. And if your premiums go up 140%, you just got to love it. Just go ahead and suck it up and buy it. That is not patient-centered health care. That is not health care that works for the people of this state. And that's why people come up to me all over Missouri and they say, we can't afford our premiums. We're going to have to get a second job, send a spouse back to work because we can't afford our premiums. We have got to bring costs down for families and put families, not insurance companies, back in control.
That is Josh Hawley. He is the Attorney General of the great state of Missouri. And how many, 33 days away from the election?
33 from today.
Counting them down every day, aren't you?
There's a lot of work to do, but I tell you what, we're excited, and this is our chance, McGraw. It's our chance to make our voices heard. They didn't hear us in 2016, apparently, but we're going to make them hear us this year.
Josh Hawley, be safe on the road, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
All right.